What's going on YouTube? Uh, I wanted to talk to you about certain things. One of them being, what's going on currently with the riots and things of that nature. Well, not just the riots, the protests, all these things that have happened in the past 2 weeks uh, due to the death of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and all these other black people who were slain under white supremacist structure here in America in 2020. A lot of us, we think that uh, white supremacy is gone, and white supremacy is, or was defeated back in the civil rights era, which it really wasn't. Many people talk about this, and you know, you have a lot of scholars, Dr. Ben, uh, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. You have many people that talk about, how, like the real Dr. Neely Fuller as well. Talking about how white supremacy, is very global and it's in every sector of life. So you have to attack all the systems in place in order to really destroy white supremacy. White supremacy is these physicians and these doctors, purposely using malpractice to harm black people. It is these politicians like Joe Biden, talking one way. He's, definitely not for black people at all, and he needs to be called out consistently. We shouldn't vote for him at all because he's really just gonna be another Obama, another double talker. We just sit here and play games, acting like, at least it's not Trump, so it's okay that we, as long as we're not getting our asses whipped under Trump, everything's all right. Like, and that's fucking like stupid as fuck. And if you fall for that, you're stupid as fuck, and you pretty much deserve what you get if that happens. You know. In my head, if we're getting our asses whipped under whoever, then it's a failure, whether Democrat or Republican. Like, fuck out of here. Like, we don't need to get treated like shit because we've been in this country for too long doing too much. Black people have done a lot of things to better America, and America turns a blind eye towards all of it and likes to act like, we're just a sector of criminals and deviants, or wants to act like, a small group of us get out of that and then become athletes thanks to their help, when it's really, our ingenuity that gets us going. Black people, if we weren't creative and able to come up with all these dances and all this culture constantly, black people would have been gone a long time ago. So we don't owe anybody anything. We don't owe anybody apologies. We did it all on our own. And, I feel that, we've got to just stick hard to what we are. We got to understand who we are as a people and not be divided easily by other people's agendas. And once again, we have to call out white supremacy in all sectors of life. We have to go out and make sure that we are aware. We're not just doing things just to do things. We have to be aware of history and how history plays a role in everything. That's why, I don't have a problem with all these people taking out these statues that represent all these racist figures, Because these figures enacted many policies and many things that affect us to this day. And they should not be allowed to represent, or they should not be allowed to stand up and represent us now, like, as a American people. They shouldn't be allowed to stand up and act like this is some kind of proud American heritage. This legacy that holds back other Americans in favor of certain people based on skin color, based on nationality, based on their origin. And this kind of thing has got to go. This system of racism is very destructive to our humanity as a human race. It is taking us nowhere. There's nothing that we can do with racism. White supremacy has to go. It has to end. You have to stomp it out. This is the best time. I don't know any other time when we can come and bring white supremacy to its knees than now. It was supposed to be done in the 1960s, but they failed back then to realize what they were up against. And the main part is this slick talking Democrats. Like right now Joe Biden is a representative of that. They were talking about how they're going to help black people, this and that, but didn't go too much further after giving black people just simple affirmative action, and it was too vague. And that being vague, it allowed the Republican ones to come in and later co-opt the movement. And now you see that you have a bunch of white women are the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action, and you have all these Asians and Indians and people like that could also benefit, but all these people like to point the finger back to black people, just like in these riots. You have everybody rioting. You have videos of white people rioting everywhere, but it all points out back to black people. The media uses their hands to practice white supremacy and portraying the image that black people are savages and goons and deviants, and all we do is we're looking out to be violent, and we're constantly a group of people. We're a group of people that need to be watched. That's the way they portray us. They portray us as a group of people that constantly need police surveillance. So people always want money poured into these inner cities to constantly surveil us, which is why they're taking money out of these schools to put it in to benefit the police and the police unions. So they're taking money from schools, they're taking money from social services, they're taking money from, all kinds of recreation. They're taking it from all kinds of areas of the community, and these communities are falling apart. We're claiming to be a first world country, but a lot of these places are definitely not looking very first world like. This is happening because these places are being defunded, and they're taking this money and they're rerouting it to the police. In New York City, the police are getting $6 billion a year. $6 billion a year. And we definitely have many problems with the subway. Many parts of New York, where it's a high black population, are struggling to get certain things done for their schools and keep their communities afloat. And this is not going to help black people in the long run. This is going to lead in this area staying very crime-ridden, and you're just going to see generational failure. You're going to see generational failure. You're going to see, many children born out of wedlock. You're going to see a lot of drugs, being sold, and people are only going to attack those things as if those things are, the cause, and those are just symptoms. The cause of it is, they're defunding everything and, giving money to the police and security and things like that at the expense of the people in the community. Another problem is that these people we're being targeted more, so we're more likely to get locked up. There's, people who talked about these kinds of things. I don't have the statistics on me right now, but there's talks about how, black people are, and I see it. I live out here in New York. Police are always driving around in black areas a lot more, going through the projects, they're going through all these areas a lot more than they're going through white areas. They're constantly, the cars are constantly sitting around in black areas, so, they're going to, of course, be more likely to catch something going on in black areas. But see, the trick is they try to use that to be like, so we're doing this for your help. It's really not for our help, because when they catch black people, or a black and a white person doing the same crime, in many cases that we've seen, the black person is more likely to serve much more time than a white person. And that is completely injustice. complete bullshit. And if they don't want to fix it, hey, then they better not expect any participation from black people in anything further, Republican or Democrat. That's absolute nonsense. It's not. It's just they must think we're insane if we think we're going for that. Uh, and then that goes into another part of racism. Another part of racism is that you have these Section 8 funds and things like that, and that is very frowned upon. It has a certain stigma and things like that. That's another trick bag, because black people get only so much from that, but you have white people that get all kinds of funds. Even in the city, you get white people who have co-ops and things like that, and they have these kinds of subsidized housing, which sounds a lot better than the projects. They get people to come in and clean it and keep it clean, a lot more cleaner than than the way that NYCHA cleans up housing in predominantly black areas, black and Hispanic areas. That's a problem. That's clear path of discrimination that we need to call out, the difference in treatment in housing. That will require black people to start paying attention more. It requires us to stand up and speak and use our voice. We need to start being politically loud, to stop just being Democrat for every damn time voting comes along. You gotta stop letting these fake black leaders, these black-faced leaders, come in and swindle us. We already know Al Sharpton's a fraud. Benjamin Crump, he's a fraud. All these other fake black leaders that come in and they pretend to do something, and then they mislead us and misdirect us. They need to be called out. And we need to stop falling for the trick bag. We need to look into these politicians' track records, and if they're not doing things to help black people and they're doing things to actually, screw black people at the expense, or do things at black people's expense, and help boost other communities, they need to realize that we will no longer give them any future campaign. So going forth into the future, we need to realize that these Section 8 needs revisioning, and it needs to be treated, we need to do some different forms, like subsidized housing, instead of just these kinds of dirty projects where you have dirty water, dirty, a lot of dirty conditions where people will take, it's for granted. It needs to be more strict, where you don't have people just smoking and fucking around in these buildings, and you have people taking care of these communities, looking out for, one another, and we could do all kinds of community outreach and recreation and things like that, so we can make sure that we benefit these communities. And that's what we have to do going forward into this decade, So that's how we have to be if we want to get serious change. And back to the doctor thing, that's what I believe is going on with the COVID. I think a lot of these black patients are being mistreated because of these doctors' views towards black people. I don't believe that, there's a coincidence in black people dying in a disproportionate amount. I think there's something going on fishy in there, and they're blocking people out and they're not letting any cameras in and doing things like that. That's sketchy. I think it should be mandated that all hospitals should have cameras. And the same thing with the senior citizen homes. What's really going on in these homes, because you have a lot of elder abuse in there, and there's no witnesses other than their aides, and some of these aides don't give a damn. They're devilish. So someone needs to call that out. We need to have money that gets allocated towards these senior citizen homes, so that they can get help, and they can go and receive all the different types of, you can receive more help as they, as they need more assistance, and as they get older, they're going to need more. They're going to need more resources, and if we don't have money because we're spending it on the police and all these, all these military movements and things like that, then, what are we saying as a nation? I think this is the point where we have to realize where we are as a people, as a nation. What do we care more about? We can't keep giving lip service. We need to look out for the blah 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 and this people and that people, and then we go in, and then they throw that whole bull crap about how we have to go invade another nation. This happens every single time. This nation falls for it every single time. Politicians come in, they talk about how they're going to help these people and that people, and then turn around and give us a bunch of bullshit about how we have to invade another nation to protect our security. And it also happens because a lot of them aren't held accountable. They want to rush into everything. All these people want to rush into this, rush into that. I don't want politicians to rush into anything. I want politicians who make sound decisions. If they can't make sound decisions, then they shouldn't be in high positions of power. We give them high positions of power so that they the public servants, can do their job and be accountable to the people. And we now have rogue officials and rogue police officers and people that are supposed to be accountable to us out of power, and we need to bring everything back in. We need to reel it all back in. All of this ties in to the white supremacy. They are using their views and things like that to go out of their way to harm a certain group of people who they deem as inferior. And they're using it to medical malpractice. They're using it to, claiming that we're more likely to be susceptible to all kinds of, they feel that we're more likely to be mistreated, or that we deserve to be mistreated, and I think that's false. I think that that's not okay. That people see us as a group of people that should be mistreated. We're all on the same planet. We all should be sharing everything and enjoying the oneness of this planet. But certain people don't feel that way. Certain people feel that we shouldn't have anything, and they feel that we should be segregated everywhere we live, and that we should be inferior. It also continues on with the food, the way that food is important. That's why I'm looking into Dr. Sebi. A lot of black people eat a very imbalanced diet, and we have to change that part of the. We have to change that in our. We have to change that out. That part of our lifestyle. We have to change the diet. Health is wellness, and if we change and remove a lot of these high processed foods out of our diet, we won't be as inflamed. There won't be an improper storage of fat. That's what happens when you eat all this, high sugar, highly processed foods. You're eating foods that are going to be stored in your body improperly, and it's going to be, it's going to be a weight gain. You're going to have inflammation. You're going to have high blood pressure. It's going to be insulin deficiency. There's going to be a whole myriad of problems due to your improper diet, your improper food lifestyle. Most of your problems are going to come from your food, and a lot of the food around us it's very cheap. Around the black, it's no coincidence that you have all these pizza spots and chicken spots and shit like that in our areas. By white people, they can have more money and they have more, more to spend on places like Whole Foods and things like that, and that's more convenient and closer to them, and that has to change. We need to change that. We need to make food that is good food more accessible to our people, and we need to make laws that ban foods from having all. And we have to ban Monsanto. We need to ban Monsanto worldwide. We need to ban all these other things. It's a myriad of things we have to do if we really want change. So we have to change the food lifestyle. We need to change the medical lifestyle. We need to change the way that the police officers are structured. If you go to aidtoabolish.com, they'll talk about many of these things. I've heard many things that, I've talked with people that talk about how we need to change the way the police are hired, like the police chiefs and commissioners, they're appointed by the mayor. They need to be, instead of being appointed by the mayor, then they should be like the sheriffs, where they're elected by the people. So when they do something, they are struck out, by us. So they're not going to be rogue as they all have been, and do whatever they want, because we're not just going to keep having this. This is deja vu. They kill us, we go out and get mad, and then they, run out with signs, and then we march for who and for what. And these politicians give us lip service. They tell us that they're sorry, and then we go back to regular, and then they do it again. We're not going to get lip service anymore. We don't vote for lip service. We want action. If these politicians do not give us action, then they will be out of here. I believe Bill de Blasio's time will be up in 2021. I'm going to be looking for a better candidate that will come in and, speak to our issues, and definitely we need to watch these leaders in New York, especially. A lot of them are deep state, and they have a vetted interest in controlling our lives and monitoring everything that we do. We need someone to come in and do the opposite of what they're doing. We need somebody to come in and make sure that the government is in check. And that's what this is about. We need to make sure that the local branches are in check. It's not just about Trump and crying about we don't want Trump, and not focusing on these local leaders. These local leaders are doing a lot to make sure that a lot of this rogue behavior is running around. They're acting like they don't know what to do, and they're helpless and all this kind of stuff, and the president needs to do something. They're the ones who are supposed to be doing things. Mayor de Blasio is the one who's supposed to be changing the police force, and he's acting like he doesn't know what to do. Like, you don't know what to do? Trying to slice your position of power. Your time is up. All these games that these politicians will be playing, we're not playing with them anymore. So hopefully you guys are becoming informed and looking into other ways of voting, not just voting Democrat and Republican, voting into other areas. Libertarian, I'm looking into libertarian, the Green Party, all these other parties we need to start looking into. We need to start funding other areas. These corrupt Democrats are trying to use Black Lives Matter as a ploy to gain funding for their, basically as fundraising for their, for the Democratic Party, for these nominees. And it's absolutely fucking disgusting to me that they think they could do that. They could profit off of these black people that have been slaughtered in the streets, and they think that we're that worthless that they can do things like that to us. They don't respect us at all, But I'm not the one, I'm not going to sit here and just be silent on these issues. And we all need to start speaking up in every single way. I've been protesting, I've been doing many things. I want to definitely get my knowledge up. We should all get our knowledge up. Look at the powers, look at all these district attorneys and prosecutors and, police heads, unions, and governors and mayors and, county officials. Everyone needs to be looked at equally. We need to look at these teachers, make sure the teachers are teaching our kids the right things. They're not abusing our kids. They're not sidelining certain kids for treatment. They're not treating black kids a certain way. They're not treating Asian kids a certain way. We have to make sure that all these children are getting the right knowledge. We should start taking arms to make sure our community is being run the right way. So I have more to say. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe. Make a difference. 2020. That's all I have to say right now. I'll see y'all later. Thank you very much.